Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to SLR F1, where we are here for the finale of the F2 season, here for Season 5, round number 13 in Abu Dhabi around the Yas Marina circuit. We're here, though, at the moment in the showroom, looking at the car of the championship leader, Crispy 2001, currently with a 23-point lead over SLR Darnell. This will be the fourth time in the last 5 seasons where the championship has gone right down to the wire, without sort of blowing my own trumpet, I don't think there's really two people in a better position to speak about this than myself and Jam, who joins me on comms. Obviously, both of us have been in this situation before with the F2 going down to the last race in the first season, of course. So then, we're going to get, hopefully, Crispy and Darnell in for a quick little interview before we get the racing underway. So if James, you could invite them quickly and we'll have a few questions with them, and then it will be straight into the action around the Yas Marina circuit. Of course, still on the old layout on this game, which should maybe, well, it may make the racing a little bit worse than what we'll get on the new game with the new layout, but I'm sure it will be fine nonetheless. So we've got Donald in, just waiting on Crispy, but you know what, it might not be a bad thing to start with the hunter as opposed to the hunted. Can hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good evening, mate. So just a couple of quick questions. First off, I want to ask you how you're feeling. Obviously, title decider tonight. I know the feeling well. A few nerves, perhaps, heading into this one, would you say?
No, not really. I mean, last season I was technically in a title decider, but it was very much like I was just about in it points-wise. But this time around it's like 23 points, so still quite a big gap. I'm just kind of going into it and just gonna go for the maximum I could possibly go for. I don't really feel any pressure just because of the gap. We'll see what happens after qualifying in a sprint. See what the gap is after that. But yeah, I've got nothing to lose myself, so I'll just go out there and do what I can.
Yeah. Would you say you feel perhaps a bit more confident in getting a lap in quali compared to Crispy then? Would you say the pressure's on Crispy to sort of get the lap in and make sure he can kind of control the race, as opposed to obviously yourself, like you say, you've got nothing to lose, so you can kind of wring the neck out of the car a bit more maybe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously 4 points for pole is quite big. It could swing it either way. It could either be 16 points after qualifying, or it could be like 20, 27 or whatever it is. So that itself would be pretty big. So I'm not sure what Crispy's approach will be. Don't know whether he'll keep it conservative just to get himself in a good grid position, or yeah, I only think about myself though. So like I said, I'll just go for it. Really, I've got to get every point there is.
Okay, and finally then, are we going to see any Sergio Perez antics from your teammate tonight?
I don't even know if I have a teammate. I
Oh,
don't, I
well,
don't,
that answers that then.
I don't think I do. No, so unfortunately, I've just myself. Yeah,
Lone wolf.
no
Well, you
plans.
know what? That might not be the worst thing. You never know. You know, you've got no one to trip over then in the pit box or whatever, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll say good luck to you then, mate. Well, we'll catch you out on the track.
Yeah, cheers.
Right then. And then quickly over to Crispy. If you can just let us know that you can hear us, mate. Ah, well, that might be a bit of. Oh, we got it. All right, nice. Yeah. So then, Crispy, 23-point lead going into the final round. It could be all over after the sprint race. How are you feeling? Are you feeling confident in terms of getting that lap in qualifying? Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Obviously, I was going to say, are we going to expect to see a sort of Brazil-like performance with the racing tonight, or are you going to take your foot off the gas a little bit? Do you think in the sprint race? You know, if you've got someone diving down your inside on the last lap, are you going to fight for the position, or are you going to let them go and then sort of just, keep it clean and get around? Yeah. Yeah. Okay then. Lastly, off the top of your head, what would you say was the defining moment in the season then that's sort of given you this big gap going into the final race of the season? Okay, well, thank you very much, Crispy, and I wish you the best of luck tonight. Right, nice. Okay then, let's get into the lobby. Only a couple of minutes now till we should be going, and then we can get underway for the one-shot qualifying. It's important every week, of course, but I think this week more than any other, especially for Crispy and Darnell, it's going to be so crucial just to get a valid lap in. Both of them saying they're not going to take their foot off the gas in qualifying. Could we see a mistake, a slip up at the final moment for Crispy, who's been nigh on perfect the whole season? Or could we see Darnell just pushing too hard, trying to wring every thousandth of time out of the car throughout this lap? It's a relatively long lap around here as well. It's a mid to high 120 in the Formula 1 cars, so I think you're looking at sort of mid 40 in these F2 cars, so it's a long lap.
I think
It's
you're thinking of
always
the new layout there, mate.
Am I thinking of the new layout? Well, it's always one that's tough on the track limits as well, especially with the chicane as you enter the third sector. So it's going to be interesting to see what the approach is. I mean, in this position, who knows? I think Crispy's probably got it spot on. It's something that even if you've thought about all week, a spare of the moment decision is something that could drastically affect the championship. If you've got someone that goes for a lunge down your inside, if you turn in, you risk a penalty, you risk contact, you risk damage. But if you let them go, you're losing the points. And if that happens in the sprint, and then you end up crashing in the feature, you could be kicking yourself. It's going to be a very interesting watch, because neither driver is going to give any quarter, and to be honest, I think half the field is kind of hoping to get in on the action and get their sort of 5 minutes of fame involved in the action. I mean, saying that, there's a lot of drivers that could have been in this position, a lot of drivers that have the pace to be in this position. But I think it's testament really to Darnell and Crispy, who have just been so consistent throughout this season, and I think ultimately, as much as pace has got them into this position, they wouldn't have done it without their consistent results and really that, I think, is kind of what separated them from anyone else this season. But here we go then, we are readying up. We are about to get underway, and I think there's really only one person that we can watch in this quali session, and it's got to be Darnell, to be honest. I mean, I know Crispy's the championship leader, but Darnell, as much as he's saying the pressure isn't on, I mean, it could be all but over in this qualifying session if he invalidates. So we'll go on board with Darnell and we'll see how he gets on, as we've got 18 out of the 19 drivers ready. So here we go then, we are about to get underway. And just before we go into quali then, let's just get the thoughts of Jam. Of course, a driver who won the championship here in Season 1. When the pressure's on like this, James, I mean, you've been in this position on countless occasions, not just, of course, in the F2 division, but when the pressure's on like it is for Crispy and Darnell, what's sort of going through your mind in this position? What are you thinking before you go into qualifying? Are you trying to sort of calm yourself down and keep the nerves to a minimum, or are you sort of trying to psych yourself up and sort of tell yourself, look, come on, you've been doing this all season, it's just one lap like any other?
I think... Oh, it's raining.
As it's... Well, there's something, sorry, just to quickly interrupt, that we've not seen since the championship decider in Season 1. Rain at Abu Dhabi. There you go. That's going to throw another spanner into the works.
No, I think to be honest, it's really a case of how you wanna look at it. I think if you're Crispy, if you're in Crispy's shoes, you're probably thinking, I can play it a little bit safe here. Darnell's the one that's got to take risks to try and... I mean, it's a 23 point deficit, isn't it? He's got to try and overturn in these two races. I think looking at it from Crispy's view, he's probably thinking Darnell's got to take the risks. I can probably just play it a bit safe here and bring him the points I need to bring home. But then on the other hand, if you're Darnell, you've got absolutely nothing to lose here. If Crispy plays it safe, like you said earlier, Harry, he could end up playing it too safe and it could backfire. I think it's one of those where really you can look at it from either way. Crispy could go out and push and just get the kind of points advantage that he needs to in the sprint. So yeah, obviously both drivers will have a kind of game plan. They'll have an idea in their heads of how they want to go about things. It sounded like, to be honest, Crispy was pretty confident, and I think in this position I always prefer being the guy that is ahead, has the advantage. I think having to chase down a points gap is never the easiest, and having to take those risks especially is never a fun one. But I also wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys, if not both of them, end up invalidating their laps in quali. They both sounded pretty calm and like they were kind of on top of it, but when the pressure gets to you, I think when you kind of realise that the championship's on the line, that's where the mistakes creep in. And yeah, as you mentioned as well, especially a track like this, it's so easy to invalidate. Just take a little corner cut, run a little bit wide through some of the tight and twisty corners, especially in that third sector. And yeah, that's really where the championship can be won and lost. Although, having said all that, I think we'll have a better idea of how it's going to play out after qualifying, which is going to start in just a few seconds' time.
Yeah, I'd say it's one thing to sort of, do it in practice when there's literally no pressure on. I mean, I get nervous for a race, for a normal one-shot, regardless of there being a championship on the line or not. So it's really another thing to do it when the pressure's on. If I can get to Darnell, that would be brilliant. There he is. So we'll go on board then with... That's Beast, because it's giving me the wrong car again. This is not going well. Right, we'll go on board with the HWA. Here we go then. Oh, and he's already lost the car, James. So this is not a good start from Darnell, who's gone right off of the track at turn 3. A big snap as he was trying to put the power down. And he's gone right down to P17. I mean, Crispy won't know this, of course, but if he did, you'd expect maybe him to take it a little bit easier. So Darnell then... perhaps already feeling the pressure. I don't know. I don't want to kind of put words in his mouth. But yeah, the pressure now really on Darnell. I think at this point, just got to make sure you get a clean lap in. I mean, it's one thing charging down a few points lead, let alone 23. So I think Darnell's probably right in saying that there's not really much pressure on him. I think the expectation is very much on Crispy to take the championship. And, it would be a minor miracle if Darnell can, but he's got his way back up into 12th, but Crispy at the moment currently the fastest driver through the first two
Oh,
sectors
he's
then.
come very deep though, Harry, into the chicane. I've been following Crispy on his lap, and yeah, it's looked pretty good so far. Up until that chicane at the start of Sector 3, he went in very deep, but it looks like it's not affecting him too much. He's still got the quickest time so far. And yeah, with Darnell kind of... Oh, he's worked his way back up nicely actually into the top 8, but with Crispy starting on pole here, it could be a pretty straightforward run to the championship if he can get a nice clean start for the sprint. But obviously it's a sprint, it's SLR and it's F2, so literally anything could happen. I've had confirmation as well it's dry for both of the races.
Yeah, so Darnell then looking like he's going to be starting towards the front for the sprint, but it is going to be the worst case scenario for the championship protagonists here if you're a Darnell fan, as Crispy then takes pole by 4 tenths to Beast. Darnell 1.8 off, but obviously that mistake's going to cost him a lot of time. But that does mean that going into the sprint race, Crispy holds a 27-point lead. So what that means is that if Darnell fails to finish the sprint race, I believe, or fails to score in the sprint race, I believe Crispy will have won the championship on countback, regardless of whether Darnell wins the feature with the fastest lap. So it is Crispy then on pole from Beast. Southerner and Bennett make it an ART second row there in third and fourth, so strong qualifying from the pair of them. Roller in fifth, of course the reigning champion, but for how much longer only time will tell. Men's in sixth, so a strong qualifying there from the Carlin driver, with Sem in the Trident in seventh. Didn't catch the rest of the grid. I think it was Darnell in... Well, it was Darnell in 8th, and then I think it might have been Mason Gammon after that, but we'll have a quick check
Dodgy,
in a
Mason,
moment.
Shut Medal adds Josh, Owen, and then Melt's got disqualified, and I didn't quite catch the bottom two, so I just cut you off there, Harry, but I had it up on the stream.
There you go. So it's Mason Gammon then in the Trident on pole for the sprint race with Dodgy alongside him. Two drivers that tend to be in this position in the sprint race. Of course, last time we were commentating, Dodgy unfortunately spun away a sprint race victory at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, but you know, can he make amends this time? We saw Josh win one of the sprint races last time out in Jeddah. So then, straight into it with the formation lap. 11 laps here for the sprint race. It looks like it's the soft and super soft tyres then that are available in Yas Marina circuit, as we've got everyone, by the looks of things, the softs. So these must be the more durable of the two compounds then. So straightforward, of course, sprint races, just in case anyone is new and doesn't know the format. 11 laps, no mandatory pit stops, so it is quite literally just 11 laps driving around with, well, hopefully, touch wood, nothing else to get in the way. If you're, well, I don't know who would rather have a safety car, to be honest, Darnell or Crispy. I think the big thing to watch out for is obviously one, Darnell at the start. Is he going to be able to get past Dodgy and Mason Gammon quickly, or is he going to get himself into a little bit of a fight with those two drivers who are by no means slow? If he gets kind of into a bit of a scrap with them, he risks damage, he risks a spin, he risks just being held up and Crispy catching them anyway. And of course, he kind of really needs to win the race, Darnell. I mean, he doesn't outright, but the maximum points on offer really is what he needs in this race. And then of course Crispy starting P10 in the middle of the field. He's got some fast drivers: Roller, Bennett, Southerner, Beast, Crispy, to name a few. Crispy, that's himself. Roller, Bennett, Southerner, Beast ahead of him. So he's got 4 very fast drivers ahead of him. Then he's got Men's Sem, who are by no means slouches at all in their own right. Is Crispy going to go aggressive, try and get past these guys at the start? Is he going to try and kind of follow them through as they work their way up the order? Or, you know, is he going to get caught up a bit in the midfield and get a bit of damage end for an instant. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see what the approach is. But here we go then, as they round the final few corners and line up in their grid slots. We see the HWA of Darnell just slotting into that third position. So the even numbers have the inside line here for turn 1. So watch out for Dodgy as we go down into turn 1, as he will have the inside line on Mason Gammon. Here we go then, for the final time this season for a sprint race. We've got 5 red lights, and it's lights out and an awful camera angle. We go, as it looks like Dodgy's had a very good start. Darnell looking to put himself in between the 2 cars. As again, we've got an awful camera angle. We've got a car round. That is Dodgy. Dodgy is round. No thanks to the race director for the cameras, as Crispy's in the wall. Crispy is out. Crispy is out so early on, and there's a spin as well. Mason Gammon's gone, so Darnell already takes the lead from Menz. It's Roller in third, Bennett fourth, with Southerner in fifth, but Crispy out, and that's got to be music to Darnell's ears. He's going to have seen that message pop up at the bottom of his screen. Crispy 2001 has retired from the session. Darnell will see that. He will know what he has to do. And this 27-point gap right now is down to 12. If it stays as it is, what happened to Crispy, James?
To be honest, I didn't see it. It all happened so fast. I was on board with the Dams driver, and it just looked like he got collected and pushed into the wall on his right-hand side. Big impact, and that front right wheel just came right off. So yeah, not entirely sure how the contact was initiated, but a nightmare start then for the championship leader, and that's no points for him then in that sprint race.
I believe there was contact as well into turn 1. It looked like it was between Darnell and Dodgy from what we could pick up from those absolutely awful camera angles. I can only apologise on Co-Master's behalf for that, although it feels like we end up doing that pretty much every week. So Menz then into second with Roller looking to make a move already on the Carlin driver. So Darnell then might be in a little bit of hot water with the stewards. We will have to wait and see on that one, but at the moment it's a perfect start for the HWA driver, who's got the lead, and his championship rival is out of the race. We've got battling going on further down in the top 10 between Marsh, Baggy, who's just dropped down about 5 places. Sem was involved as well, and we've got Josh into the pit. Sem is right in the back here of Shook Medal. Is he going to have a look into turn 1? Not quite close enough. He might have a little look though into turn 2. The Trident driver just about alongside Shook Medal's missing a front left end plate, so I wonder if he might have got involved with Crispy a little bit, because they started next to one another. Sem not quite close enough. We've got a spinner in the back. That's Baggy. So Baggy's awful virtual safety car restart just being made worse though. Sem looking down the inside then into the hairpin. Bit of contact made again with that front wing of Shook Medal, but Sem barges his way past and says thank you very much, I'll see you later, to the reserve driver. Shook Medal though back on board with him. We've got more yellow flags in the back, and that's Russell. So both Dams cars out within 2 laps. We've got another virtual safety car then. Not going to be allowed the opportunity to get back at Sem, as the race director says, not today, mate. So Darnell 1.5 second lead to Roller. Menz half a second back in third, but both Dams out. It's a good job they'd already won the constructors, isn't it? Because both cars out in the sprint race already. The saving grace, I suppose, with Crispy is that won't affect his starting position in the feature race. He will still start from pole. So, you know, that is pretty much his only saving grace. Otherwise, he's lost a chance at points, and quite possibly is going to see Darnell cut that gap down to just a dozen points.
Yeah, whilst we were talking as well, Harry, just before the VSC came out, it was a pretty simple move at the inside of Menz for Roller to get himself right behind Darnell now on track. I think the gap's about 1.6 seconds, so it'll be interesting to see if the Prema driver can close that gap down. I think the thing as well is we never like the championship to be decided by the stewards. But if it plays out nicely for Darnell here, I think that instant between him and Dodgy at turn 1, right at the start of this race, could be what decides the championship. But I don't want to speak too soon yet. Obviously, we've got a lot of racing left ahead of us. And yeah, it would just be interesting to see now whether Darnell can keep Roller behind him. Because I think 15 points is really what he needs. He needs maximum points here. Well, 17 if he can get the fastest lap. I think any less than that, and it's going to be a tough ask for him, especially with Crispy starting on pole for the feature.
Yeah, we've got the two virtuosi cars here of Schuttmedal and Marsh battling it out. Schuttmedal with that missing Everplate, you think he could play the team game and let his teammate through, but of course at least one of these guys is a reserve driver. Schuttmedal is a reserve driver. I'm not too sure about Marsh, but he does get past anyway with the help of DRS that has now been activated, because of course with the VSC it doesn't need 3 laps to be activated, unlike a safety car. So we got DRS already. Schuttmedal getting that move done, and we got Alan in the wall on the exit of the chicane there, leading onto the back straight. It looks like he's probably just lost that on traction. We got another VSC, so we've had 3 laps and 3 VSCs. So it's a very stop-start to this race, as we're kind of stuttering our way through the first half dozen laps or so. So we've had 3 retirements, 3 virtual safety cars, 3 laps.
I think the thing is as well, Harry, obviously Crispy's gonna be in the lead of the championship no matter what after this race, but having that long gap after crashing out so early on, and just seeing that seeing Darnell leading this race, I think if Darnell can win it, obviously that would take the gap down a long way, and Crispy would have had about a good 20-30 minutes where he's kind of just been sat there watching it all unfold. That might be a big momentum swing for Darnell there. Crispy maybe kind of not being able to get those laps in, just having to sit and watch. That might affect the start of the feature race. Oh, Darnell's got a drive through.
Darnell's got a drive through.
I don't want to speak too early, but I think that could be it.
And when everything was just looking so good for Darnell, he goes and gets a drive through. That's got to be heartbreak for him. It's a mistake that everyone's made at least once during their racing career, but I mean, of all the times to do it, I don't think you can pick a worse one for Darnell, who Schuttmedal was just losing the car on the traction there. Luckily, Dodgy's not close enough to capitalise on that. I mean, yeah, there's not really anything that Darnell can do to help the situation now. He's just going to have to serve that drive through and try and catch back up, but he's going to lose 20 odd seconds to the rest of the field, and he's not going to make that back up. He needs a safety car right as he comes out of the pits and has finished serving that drive through, to be honest, because he's got to get it served before a safety car comes out for his sake, but he chooses to stay out at the moment. It is going to mean that Roll is going to take the lead of the race when Darnell does serve that penalty, as Bennett now as well has gotten past Menz, so Bennett up into a net P2. Roller needed one more win to equal your record of wins in F2, James, and he said he might have needed a miracle to do that, and it looks like he's gotten that.
How many wins is that?
You know, I have no idea, mate.
Is that second? I presume that's second all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, not sure.
Well, maybe not be anymore. Yeah, whatever.
I know I'm first all time though. I'll just add that in. We got Menz though. He is only half a second away from Bennett, although that exit onto the back straight isn't going to do him any favours. Bennett might just about have DRS from Roller as well, as we got Mason Gammon as well retiring in the pits. Just saw that a few moments ago. As B sets the fastest lap of the race. Menz didn't gain enough there down the straight to have a look at Bennett. In fact, he's now got Southern up the company less than half a second behind, as the ARTs are looking to make it a 3-4 that will become a 2-3, but Southern are not close enough on this occasion, despite setting the fastest middle sector of the race. We've got Sem and Ads going right at it, just caught the end of that. Sem giving Ads a Little bit of a love tap there into the chicane. Trident driver shouldn't have gotten any damage from that, I don't think, as he would have just hit his nose cone. Just a bit of a scuff there that might need buffing out later on. Merckx has got his way up into P8 as Sem goes all over the Astro there, or the painted concrete off of the track. As we've got Darnell then, he's coming in to serve that drive-through. Southerner looking like he might be eyeing up a move on Menz pretty soon, but at the moment all these guys just about getting DRS off one another, so it might prove to be a little bit more difficult than normal. Darnell's going to re-emerge then just outside the top 10, but of course the top 8 score points in the sprint. With that gap at 27 points, this would be it at the moment. If Darnell can't get himself back up into 8th place or higher. The Southerner then, which way is he going to go? To the right. The only way Menz was letting him go, as he firmly covered the inside, but he outbrakes the ART driver, does Menz, but Southerner then trying to line up the Carlin with the switchback. Just bogged down slightly on the exit as he got held behind Menz slightly. He's going to have to try around the outside though into the chicane, but Menz brakes just a tad later and isn't going to let Southerner get around his outside that easily. Someone who is going around someone's outside quite easily though is Sem, as he gets up past the MP Motorsport car of ads, and he's now up into P5. So pretty good start to the race then for the Trident driver. Darnell is on the back of Schuckmedal and is now past Schuckmedal, so he's up into 10th, only 2.5 seconds off of Dodgy, who is P9, and of course was the driver who made contact with Darnell on the first lap.
Just looking at the gaps at the front here, Harry. That's Darnell gone at the final corner, I think.
Again, yeah.
Bennett actually losing a couple of tenths that lap to Roller. It doesn't look like he's quite quick enough to get into that DRS that he needs to really make a challenge for the lead. And he's kind of taken Menz and Southerner along with it, really. I think Southerner looks like maybe the quickest out of these three, second to fourth, but just stuck behind Menz at the moment. Obviously the DRS from Menz is helping him to defend. You could be seeing a move here for P3, but no, Southerner once again thinks better of it. Decides just to stick behind and try and get a nicer run on the second straight, but it doesn't look like he's close enough again, Harry. So I think more frustration for Southerner here, who I think if he could get past Menz could make a real challenge here in this race. Looks to the outside.
Look again around the outside, but again Menz covers that off, but he might have him on the switchback here. No, Menz again
played it safe there.
Firm in his defence. Merckx might have a go at Marsh here, but not quite close enough. Again, nothing doing. I did say at the start of the stream that it's not necessarily the best track for racing in these cars, but it's something that hopefully the new layout will sort out once we get round to it on the new game. Owens had a bit of a spin down at turn, is that 5-6 or 4-5? The chicane anyway, down at the end of sector 1, start of sector 2, but he's managed to keep going. That's the Prema driver down in P15. But we've got the top 4 then, all within about 2.5 seconds of one another. Then it's a 6.7 second gap to Sem. So these 4 then really, that's the battle for the lead. It's the battle for the win with 4 laps to go in this race. Merckx trying to make progress to get himself further up into the points paying positions here and turn 1 point into 2 as Darnell now sets the fastest lap. So he's obviously got the pace. He's just making the mistakes unfortunately at this moment in time. Merckx then just dropping back a little bit through that first sector, but it is quite difficult to follow around it. We've got Josh and Beast in that MP Motorsport car has gone off at the final corner, a bit like what Darnell did a couple of laps ago. As are we going to see Southerner this time get past Menz? No, we're not on this occasion. I'm just going to keep an eye on the timing tower for that battle between Merckx, Dodgy and Marsh for P7. As Southerner's coming back at Menz then. He's got to try and switch up his tactics, I think, here, the ART driver, but just not managing to get close enough on this occasion to that Carlin. As Merckx and Dodgy both dropped off quite a bit there and aren't going to be going for any moves anytime soon either. Well, that's solved Southerner's issue pretty quickly there, as Menz just losing it on the traction there. So Menz spinning off onto the grass. That's going to promote Sem up to 4th. Just losing the couple of places, but that is a podium that's gone for Menz, who was having a pretty nice race up until that point. So it's now an ART 2-3, and Southerner, who James reckons is perhaps the fastest of these three, or at least faster than Bennett, now has a chance then to get after his teammate, as he's currently just about a 10th outside of the DRS range.
Yeah, having said that, actually a couple of laps ago, Bennett put in a really good lap and got into the DRS of Roller. Looks like he's just dropped back again last time around, so it could be Southerner's chance now to try and make a move on his teammate and get a challenge in for this win with only a couple laps to go next time around.
Yeah, back-to-back fastest laps for Darnell. He's pushing hard, but at the moment it looks like 10th's going to be as far as he can go.
Yeah, the fastest lap, which would give him the 2 points in 10th though, wouldn't it, Harry?
That is true. That would reduce the gap to 25, so that would still make it mathematically possible, because at this moment in time, Crispy will be crowned champion, I believe, on countback. It might be worth if maybe, James, you could just get that confirmed for us, if possible. As we've still got this battle going on then. Bennett's getting closer to Roller now, half a second or so away with the DRS, but not going to be close enough to go for a move. Someone that is close enough to go for a move is SLR Dodgy, who's going side by side with Merckx then through the chicane, as I got all caught up in where Merckx was and looked behind me and he was in front. Dodgy though, he's got the DRS back on Merckx. On the Charoux car, he's going to try it round the outside at this chicane. They're going to go side by side here. Dodgy gets the move done. That's a fantastic little move there from the Campos driver to get himself up into 8th and the final points paying position. Adds only a few tenths behind Menz. Could we see a move from the MP driver to get himself up into the top 5? That would be a fantastic result for Ads, it has to be said. Southerner now though, only a few tenths behind Bennett. Could we see a bit of team orders imposed here down at ART? Southerner at this rate, with this pace, perhaps does have a chance of getting Roller. Who knows though, he's got to get rid of his teammate. That is very true. There might not be any need, because Southerner is going to have DRS. Bennett will not have DRS. It should be a pretty easy move. Darnell is up into 10th, so he does have the 2 points for the fastest lap, so that means the championship will go to the feature race regardless of there being a 25-point gap. It will also go to the feature. So there we go then. Southerner past Bennett. Pretty routine move there from the ART boys. Bennett didn't even try and put up a fight there against his teammate. As Southerner then, he's got a lap and a half to try and catch this gap to Roller. I don't think he's going to do it, and in fact he's going to have his life a bit more difficult, yeah, because Bennett's going to come back at him then. It does look like it's going to be a battle between the two ARTs here for second place, as Bennett goes right around the outside and back up into P2. So I think Roller's all but wrapped up this victory then, with just over a lap to go. Marsh is having another little look at Ads, who's dropped off the back of Menz and out of DRS range. Marsh, who was fending off Merckx earlier in the race, now has a 2.5 second gap behind him, and that's given him a bit of freedom to go after the MP car of Ads, who does just lose the car a little bit on rotation out of the chicane, or out the 90-degree left-hander there, sorry, but just not close enough. Hasn't quite got the overspeed, has Marsh, to go for any kind of meaningful move. So at the moment, Ads holding firm in P6. On for a pretty strong result here is the MP Motorsport driver, of course, with his teammate Beast, who you'd normally see in this sort of position, down in 14th after pitting on the first lap. Is he going to have a look into turn 1, Marsh? No, he's going to wait. It's probably the smart thing to do. Wait for the DRS. Southerner is going to get DRS on Bennett again. Are we going to see a bit of deja vu here? Are we going to see a repeat of last lap? Southerner getting past Bennett, and then Bennett getting back past on the second straight. So here we go then, Southerner pulling out of the slipstream. And then back onto the racing line as he goes up into P2. And if we go to Bennett, who gets a pretty nice exit, or gets a better exit than Southerner, who nearly loses the car, he's got the DRS in the tow. Which way is Southerner going to force Bennett to go? Well, Bennett kind of forced himself to the outside, which is going to make it difficult to go for the move. Southerner's learnt that one the hard way from Menz on where to place your car to defend at that corner, and he does so. So Southerner holds on to P2 for now. It's Roller out front, who's led the whole race after Darnell served that drive-through, and he's not really been troubled for it too much. Marsh is past Ads. What a move, James.
Yeah, he went absolutely steaming around the outside. I thought I was on board with him, and I thought, oh, he's throwing way too late there. He's just going to go straight on. But no, slowed it down beautifully, and yeah, right round the outside of Ads.
Whoa, Ads trying it back round the outside. Just not really much of an overtaking spot, as Roller then wins to equal Jam's win record in the F2 division. Southerner comes home P2 with Bennett in third to make it an ART 2-3. Bennett comes home fourth with Menz in fifth. It looks like it's going to be Marsh who holds on to sixth, despite Ads practically pushing him round the final couple of corners. It is sixth for Marsh, seventh for Ads, eighth for Dodgy, ninth for Merckx, who finished less than a tenth behind the Campos driver, and then half a second back was Darnell, who comes home in 10th. Does he have the fastest lap? If we can get that up somewhere. He does for now. Is that going to change? Is there anyone on a better lap? Beast has a chance. He's only a 10th down going into this final sector. Is Beast going to do it? No, he's not. So Darnell then is going to finish with the fastest lap. He gets the 2 points for the fastest lap.
So it's still
and
possible.
It means that the gap going into the feature race is 25 points. So it is still possible, but Darnell needs to win with the fastest lap and hope that Crispy retires again. That is the only way that he can win.
Well, if Crispy gets 10th, it'll be fine.
Championship.
That's right, isn't it?
What's that? Sorry.
If Crispy was 10th, then it would still work. If Darnell won on fastest lap, he'd win by a point, right?
Well, the only way Darnell can win is if he wins the fastest lap and Crispy retires. So Crispy needs a point, yes.
No, because what's the gap? 20...
25.
Yeah, so if Crispy gets a point, then he'd be...
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're right, sorry. I mean, I guess...
So he needs 9th or above, which... Yeah, but that's nice and easy to remember, really, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. 9th or above for Crispy. There we go. Yeah. We got there eventually.
No, we're overcomplicating that a bit.
Yeah, quite possibly. Right then. So, as we see, Merckx has just left the session. So, if you could try and get him back in.
I saw that Mason left early as well. I reckon we might have a restart.
Not sure. Roller then wins. That is his 18th win in F2, which does put him second at all time, behind only myself now. So that's a great result for Roller, who is bowing out of the division at the end of this season. So what a way to go out for him. Of course, last season's champion. Southerner in P2, that's his 26th podium, and Bennett comes home P3, and that's Bennett's 5th podium in the F2 division. Sem 4th with Menz in 5th, both of those guys finishing where they started, sorry. Marsh with a brilliant drive, up 10 places to come home P6. He's definitely a shout for driver of the day. Ads in 7th, he's up 5 as well. with Dodgy down 6, but he had that spin earlier and recovered nicely to take home the final point in P8. Mertz comes home 9th after just getting disqualified in qualifying, so he's up 8 positions as well, so another good drive there. So solid drives all round really from those 4. Darnell, it looked so good for him at the start, but that drive through, it just untangled his whole race, or tangled his whole race up, should I say. He comes home P10, but with the fastest lap, which does crucially keep the championship alive. So then, what are you going to do in terms of strategy here, James? Are you going to risk going on the alternate strategy and being an early safety car, or are you going to risk going on the default strategy and risking a late safety car? It's a tricky one. It's a decision that could win or lose you the championship.
Yeah, I think it could. I think if I'm Darnell here, I might just take a punt, start on the super softs, hope there's an early safety car. Because to be honest, we had a lot of incidents at the start of the sprint, didn't we? So yeah, I mean he's
true.
Really got nothing to lose, has he? He's not. I mean,
he didn't have much to lose anyway.
Well, no,
he's really not got anything to lose.
It's going to take a miracle for him to snatch this championship really from Crispy now, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's got to be worth taking a punt, hoping for an early safety car. And then if he can win the race, that's all he can do. It's out of his hands. If he wins and gets fastest lap, yeah, it's completely out of his hands as to what happens with Crispy, really, isn't it? So yeah, got to be worth taking a punt. Just go for it and see what happens. Really, I think that would be my mentality going into it.
All right then, let's see what tyres at the moment. Everyone's got the softs selected, which is interesting really, because they should have 2 fresh sets actually of the super softs, because of course qualifying was wet, or at least those that didn't use the super softs in the sprint. I'm not sure if anyone did actually anyway, but
would you be able to use your qualifying tyres though? I'm not sure if they do it like that in F2.
Yeah, I really don't know. But I mean, anyway, they should have a fresh set of both tyres, so it really shouldn't affect them anyway. But it's going to be interesting then. At the moment, it looks as though literally everyone's starting on the softs, which is going to make it a rather boring in terms of strategy. That's what he said. We'll just confirm that once everyone's loaded onto the grid. We might see a last second swap for someone, but I'd be perhaps a little bit surprised. By the looks of things, as we look down on all the drivers here, it looks as though everyone's on the softs, and they are. So, well, that's the first thing ticked off anyway. In terms of strategy, then, it's going to be no different. It's going to stay as it is with the softs onto the super softs. You're probably looking around lap 9, 10 sort of time to be pitting, I'd imagine. I mean, we did 11 laps on these softs not on these softs, but on the softs in the sprint race. So you'd imagine they'd be pitting slightly earlier, as it's only 16 laps here, the feature. Just to get as much, or as many laps, as much time on the super softs as possible. So then Crispy is on pole from UK Beats Assassin, 2 drivers that had pretty awful sprint races by their standards, or well, really awful sprint races by their standards. I mean, not picking up points is about as bad as it can get for these guys, especially. Then it's Southerner and Bennett in 3rd and 4th, who were both obviously on a bit of a high after the last race, getting podiums, as well as Roller, of course, who won the sprint race. Then it's Menz and Sem in 6th and 7th, who both have very strong drives to come home 5th and 4th, respectively, in the sprint. Then it's Darnell, who's got it all to play for, really. He's got to go aggressive, you think. He can't afford to wait around and get stuck behind someone, and he's got to hope that his mate Beast can get past Crispy and do a bit of a Perez job, or a Petrov maybe is a more fitting analogy, considering they're not on the same team. Dodgy lines up 9th with Mason in 10th, and then the top 11th to 19th start in the same positions they did for sprint. So then, a couple of corners to go, and they will be lining up on the grid. What's your approach if you're Darnell? I say he's got to go aggressive, James. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think he does. He's got to make moves early on and kind of pick up the pieces from others battling. I think it makes his job about 10 times more difficult already, though, the fact that he's kind of not gambled on that alternate strategy, because now he's obviously going to have to overtake Crispy on track with pace rather than with luck, which I think is probably more likely in this situation. But yeah, we'll just have to see how these opening laps pan out. Obviously, Crispy didn't make it past the first couple of corners last time, did he? So he'll be praying that he avoids that again. Darnell had fantastic pace, obviously getting the fastest lap in the sprint. So he should be quick coming through the pack.
For the final time then this season, we have got the 5 red lights out, and it's a slow start by the looks of things for everyone. It seemed like there was a bit of a delay between everyone going and the lights going out, as Southerner then up into P2, ran the outside of Beast. Crispy with a brilliant start takes the lead then from Southerner. It's then Beast, and then it's Roller after that, as Bennett's gone. Bennett has gone. I thought I could see something going on the timing tower, and it's Bennett then dropping all the way down. So Roller 4th, it's Menz in 5th, Darnell and Dodgy battling it out for 5th and 6th there, as Darnell's trying to go round the outside of the Campos driver. Darnell looking to make up a couple of positions in these opening exchanges and get off to what you'd say is, well, maybe not a perfect start, but a very good start nonetheless. We've gone board with Sem, who's getting a massive draft off both of them. Is Sem going to try and make this 3 wide here as we head down into the chicane, as Menz has lagged out, as it's Sem on Darnell, and Darnell, Dodgy making some more contacts again there, but Darnell then holding off the Trident for now, but he's going to come back at him. Is Sem, is he going to try it around the outside? Has a little look, but just not close enough on this occasion to get the move done. Darnell then has got to try and get Menz as quickly as possible, because he got stuck behind him. Southerner, his brother, got stuck behind him in the last race, so we know that Menz is a tricky customer to get past. But Menz has rejoined the session, so he should be taking back control of his car pretty quickly, as we've got some time penalties coming in already for Russell. The field, at least those guys at the back, already starting to spread out quite a bit, as we've got Merckx and Bennett battling over P15 by the looks of things. These two can't get away from one another, it seems, in SLR at the moment. Roller only a quarter of a second behind Beast, the driver who's having a brilliant weekend so far, and he's looking to make it 2 podiums out of 2, as he's eyeing at the back of the MP Motorsport car, going into turn 1 though, not close enough to go for the move on this occasion. But Roller's looking really quick in these opening exchanges, James, picking up from where he left off.
Yeah, he certainly is. I've kind of been following Darnell so far in this race. Bennett's spin was actually caused by a bit of a moment and then a bit of contact with Darnell, who was really in the wars on the first lap. He's actually getting past the AI of Menz as I speak. Not an ideal start. He looks like he's pushing really hard, having quite a few moments on the traction out of turn 1, especially at the start of this lap. Roller Beast are now battling it out ahead, but yeah, a bit of a scruffy start for Darnell there, but he's making up places, he's doing what he needs to do. I think, to be honest, if it was anyone apart from Bennett, they'd be sending that clip in, but I have to admit, I'd be a little surprised if it was sent in. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Obviously, Darnell needs to win, obviously, with fastest lap. Crispy doesn't, needs to...
Roller, sorry James, having a look around the outside of Beast.
Yeah, that's alright. I need
through this middle
there.
sector. A bit of
contact.
tyre banging contact between the pair of them. This is going to give Darnell a good chance to close at the gap. I was trying to find where he was, because I looked behind and all I could see was Menz, but Darnell was right involved with these two as well. Roller gets past Beast, so gets the move done, but it was elbows out between the pair of them. Bit of argy-bargy, wheel banging as Beast looking to come back at him. There was never a move on there, and Darnell's hit the back of the MP Motorsport car now, and Beast loses it on traction, and Darnell is going to get through. So Darnell then up into P4. 3 cars remain between Darnell and the leader of this race, but one of them is that man there who sets the fastest lap of the race. Crispy 1.5 seconds the gap already to Southerner, a further 3 back to Roller, a further second back to Darnell. So Darnell is 5.5 seconds already behind Crispy. He's got to make up half a second a lap or so has Darnell to catch Crispy by the end of this race. Menz's AI is proving to be a little bit of a menace here, as I think it's now Sem was caught up behind it, but Menz is actually back in to the session, and he has a look down the inside of Beast, and that was never going to work there. Another driver going for a speculative dive bomb down the inside of someone, and it's not paid off for Menz, and it's put him on the back foot now. He got a very poor exit onto the back straight. Sem's got DRS, but so has Menz. Sem is being squeezed a little bit. Menz not willing to give the Trident too much room down the straight, although as the straight widens out, they both get away with it, as both of them trying to fit through that chicane, as we've got Russell retiring from the session. It looks like that was on track, and that's brought out a VSC.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I read that I think B7 Discord, he's starting this race with 50% warm tyres. So yeah, those softs are going to be screaming by now, only 3 laps into this race. So that could explain why he's struggled so much. I think unfortunately that VSC ruined us of a lovely kind of round 2 there for Menz and Sem. Meant that Sem was able to stick ahead after making that lovely move around the outside in the end. It was at the chicane. Yeah, Darnell sitting 4th now. He's closing in a bit on Roller by the looks of things. It'd be good to make that move as early as possible. I think he's probably going to have to try for a bit of a monster undercut here just to get close to Crispy. If he can kind of gain a few seconds, put the pressure on a bit, I think that's his best bet now. A safety car in a few laps would also be quite nice. As Beast is pitting, he's got to be hoping for another safety car later on, because obviously you cannot serve your mandatory stop behind the VSC.
Well, if Beast started on 50% tyres, they're probably going to shreds now. I mean, he will have started on those tyres that he pitted onto then in the sprint race, so that will probably explain why he was a little bit slower than what you might have expected in these opening exchanges here, as we got Menz and Sem then.
Oh, no, a brilliant restart as well, Harry.
Picking up right from where they left off here, as yeah, you're right, Darnell has had a good restart, James, and he's going to get DRS on the Prema car here. Is Roller going to defend this position? Is he going to fight Darnell, or is he going to let him go? Let's have a look. Darnell then to the outside. Roller's going to try and stick it. He didn't really outbrake Darnell. Darnell all but had the move done, but gave Roller plenty of room on the insides of the corner, and he got a pretty poor run out of the chicane there, and Roller is going to get the switch back, and he's going to get back past Darnell. So this is going to halt Darnell's progress. This is not doing him any favours, but Darnell then Roller then back into 3rd ahead of Darnell. Sem was re-overtaken by Menz, so those two have continued their battle. Shut Medal is just half a second away from Dodgy as well, so those guys having a fantastic little battle for P5 by the looks of things. Shut Medal though does have a penalty. Darnell had another little look at Roller there, but went off the track in doing so. Caught off guard there. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. Just see the arrow swapping around on the timing tower. But Darnell not able to get that move to stick on Rollers. We've got fireworks going off in the sky at the moment. A bit premature for those, isn't it? But never mind. We move, we carry on. Darnell then half a second or so back from Roller. Not a good exit though out of the first corner. They're getting all squirrely on the traction. Crispy 2-second lead to Sumner, so he's put another half a second on the ART driver after that VSC has ended. But Darnell not really losing too much time to Crispy at the moment, considering he is embroiled in a little bit of a battle here with Roller. Roller going a bit deep on entry into that hairpin, sorry, but it's a nice exit because of it, kind of slingshotted his way out of the corner. If you're Darnell here, you might want to hold back and wait and get him on the second straight, which it looks like whether he wanted to or not, that's what he's going to have to do, because Darnell was not close enough on this occasion to go for a move on Roller, who goes very deep, and this is going to give Darnell a brilliant chance to get the switchback done, and he's got the move done, well, pretty much, as they activate DRS. So this is Darnell then up, into P3. pretty easy move then in the end for the HWA driver. But I don't think this is going to be the last that we see of Roller this race in that number 1 car, as he's got good pace as Roller. I'd imagine he might be able to stick with Darnell, but we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. This does give us a bit of a clearer view then of what Darnell needs to do. He has got 6.5 seconds, give or take a tenth or two, to Crispy. He's got 3.5 to his brother, who you'd imagine isn't going to put up much of a fight here. If Darnell can even catch him, of course.
Yeah, it looks like he's really struggling now on the traction, actually, Darnell. Kind of similar to how it was for Beast a few laps ago before the MP driver actually peeled off into the pits. It looks like he's the quickest man on track, though, as well. Having said that, despite seemingly lacking a bit of traction, he could just be pushing so hard. He's absolutely throwing the car into the corners, in all fairness. And yeah, he's already put 0.7 of a second on Roller in 2 sectors. So yeah, it looks like Darnell is a man on a mission here. Obviously, Crispy still leading the race, comfortably ahead of really where he needs to be. Obviously, 9th and above, and that championship is his, no matter what Darnell does in that in this race. And I think if I'm him, I'm probably just thinking about that the whole time. Obviously, it's nice to win a championship, winning the race, but I think it might be worth remembering for Crispy that he doesn't have to win it if he doesn't need to. No need to take any unnecessary risks. But Roller could be coming back here, Harry.
Yeah, of course. Looks like we have a little bit of a battle going on between Merckx and Marsh for P12. Marsh getting the better of the Charouz driver for now. Sem is going to have another go at Menz here, as Menz forces him to the outside. This is Menz's defending spot, although on this occasion he goes very deep into the corner there and almost pushes Sem off of the track. That was right up to the edge in terms of how much room you can give a driver. But Menz does stay ahead then for now. Darnell was able to keep Roller at bay. So that gap remains at about 6/10. Darnell's closed about a second or so. Well, I say it was a second, and then he just lost 0.3 to his brother, who's now 3 seconds behind Crispy. Yeah, Darnell's showing some really good pace. He's now 5.5 seconds back. So he's gained 2.3 now to Crispy. So this is good pace from Darnell, but I mean, he needs to win the race, but he also needs Crispy not to score. So you know, it's kind of, even if he gets into the lead, it's only half the job done, really. And I mean, if you're Crispy, as much as you probably want to win this final race, if you've got a Darnell storming at you, when you've got the championship all but wrapped up, there's absolutely no need to fight that and risking any sort of incident. But I mean, only time will tell if that actually does come to fruition, or whether we're purely sort of just trying to create a bit of a scenario here. But Sem then half a second back on Menz. He's going to get the DRS. He opens the rear wing then. He's in the slipstream of the Carlin car. He's gaining. He's got Alan then retiring. Could that be a safety car?
Oh,
yes, it is. So we got a safety car then with just 9 laps in this race to go, or 9.5 laps to go. That's going to see Crispy, Southerner, Darnell, Roller, Menz, Sem, Dodgy, Shutt Meadow, Mason Gammon, Bennett, Baggy, Merckx and Marsh all take their mandatory pit stop and go onto the super softs, unless one of them wants to be a bit of a funny guy and get in the way of this this championship showdown. I'm going to call it now, because that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a bit of a showdown. I mean, you can't not at this point. You've got to. If you're Crispy or Darnell, I mean, if you're Darnell especially, you've got to, really. You can't afford to not pit. But I imagine on that restart, Southerner's probably going to let Darnell go. That's my thinking here. It's going to mean we're going to see Darnell versus Crispy in a pretty similar situation to what we saw in real life in Abu Dhabi about 6 months or so ago, where we've got the 2 championship protagonists here battling it out with just a handful of laps remaining. So it's and Darnell really can afford to be the aggressor. You know, if there's contact made between the pair of them at the end of the day, you know, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, and I'm not saying that Darnell will want that to happen, because it looks as though Bennett's staying out here. But of course, if there is contact made between the pair of them, deliberate or not that I'm saying it would be deliberate. you know, Darnell's kind of the one that's got nothing to lose, so he can afford to be a bit more aggressive and throw one inside of Crispy, because Crispy's either going to let him go, or he's going to fight it and risk getting caught up in it all. So Darnell's really kind of, the ball's in his court, you got to say. If he gets past Southerner, of course, or if Southerner lets him go, because of course a DNF for Crispy and a win for Darnell with that fastest lap, of course, that's the key factor with the fastest lap. That would be Darnell taking the championship home. So this is going to be really interesting now, I feel, because like I say, the gap 25 points, but on countback Crispy would win if they finish on even points. So Darnell does need the fastest lap. That is even if Crispy does not score any points. That's something just to bear in mind then. So we've got Bennett staying out. I wonder if he maybe does think the tyres aren't going to last. I think, to be honest, if I was in this position, I think you've got to try and make them last, because he's going to be 30 odd seconds behind everyone by the time he comes into pit. But this could be a masterstroke from Bennett.
Yeah, I guess he's just
we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
I guess he's just hoping for another safety car in a few laps' time, and then he'll have really fresh tyres compared to everyone else who will definitely be struggling towards the end of the race, you should think, having pitted so early. I think from what I remember, they only do about 5 or 6 laps really, these super softs, before they're completely dead. So yeah, these guys could be really struggling to hold on towards the end of this race here. If the safety car comes in, I'd expect it to come in at the end of lap 9. So yeah, with kind of 7, 8 laps to go still. Yeah,
I mean, either that or Bennett maybe did miss the pit lane, because that has happened before. That's quite a common occurrence around here. That's something that you do see quite often. I'd imagine he probably didn't, and this is a tactical decision to stay out. But he could have missed the pit lane. But no, Bennett stays out there. So this was a tactical decision from the ART team to keep Bennett out. We are going to have as Dodgy pits again, James. So Dodgy has done his one lap on the super softs. I was just about to suggest that. Is he going to go back onto the softs? Is he thinking that these tyres aren't going to last, and so he'd rather be on the softs and get a lap in on them? Or is he paying for another set? He is.
I like it.
There we go. So he's going back onto old softs.
Why not?
So Dodgy is obviously a bit of a skeptic here. He doesn't think that those super softs are going to make it to the end of the race, and is going to take a bit of a gamble and go onto an old set of softs. That's interesting. That is definitely interesting. Merckx, what's Merckx pitting for? Has he pitted for another set of super softs? A new wing, and that is a new set of super softs. So yes, every driver did have 2 fresh sets of super soft tyres. I did think Dodgy might have been pitting for his other set, because of course that would effectively take a lap's wear off them. But no, he's pit for the softs. Merckx has gone for the other set of the super soft tyres. So by the time this race gets underway, we're going to have 7 laps remaining. 7 laps on super softs that we've already done a couple behind the safety car. This is going to be an interesting one here. Could this be a inspired decision from Bennett or Dodgy or even Merckx? It's an interesting one, and in fact we might not even get the safety car in this lap, because look where Merckx is on the mini-map in the bottom right of the screen. He's a long way away. This could helping everyone else out really, and almost hindering Merckx to a degree, because it looks as though the safety car is going to stay out for another lap here. So Dodgy's gone back onto the tyres that he started this feature race on, as opposed to the tyres that he used in the sprint, because of course they would have done 11 laps as opposed to 8. So it makes sense from that standpoint. Obviously the softs, must have a pretty decent lifespan to make Dodgy think that he can do 15 laps on them. That's 4 more than what they managed in the sprint. So yeah, we're not going to see the safety car in this lap. We're going to have 1 more lap behind the safety car, as SLR Marsh now is also in the pits. So the Virtuosi car then pulling into its pit box, and he's going for his other set of super softs. I mean, when you're sort of towards the back of the field, what have you really got to lose in this position? So Marsh as well pitting. The safety car is going to be in this lap regardless of whether these guys catch up or not, because this is the 3rd lap that it's been out for, and that is the way in which the algorithm of the game mechanic works. So Marsh has got a bit of a job on his hands really to catch back up to the train here. Merckx should be all right in that regard, as you can see the back end of the train there just up ahead. I think Marsh should also be alright. I mean, by the time Bennett's backed everyone up as well through the final sector, you'd think he would have done, because this is one of the longest final sectors in on the calendar, this final sector here at Abu Dhabi. So it's going to be quite a bit of distance put between Bennett and the safety car by the time that's pulled off into the pit lane here. And what's Bennett going to do on this restart? Is he going to let these guys go, or is he going to try and be a bit of a nuisance out front? That could prove to be another pivotal factor in this championship solo. As yes, we've got the message from race control then at the top of the screen. The safety car is in this lap. It's going to be a 6-lap sprint to the finish in the finale here. Crispy is in the net race lead. Darnell is in 3rd, but his brother is up ahead and most likely won't be making life difficult for him. Are we going to see the 2 championship protagonists come to blows? Are we going to see a battle between the pair of them in this final race? It won't be the first time we've seen championship protagonists in the F2 division battle it out in the last closing laps of a race here at Abu Dhabi, as we know all too well. But here we go then, the safety car is about to pull into the pit lane and Bennett can go any time from now. When is the ART driver gonna make his move? You think that Crispy should make light work of Bennett really on these fresh super soft tyres. But here we go then, round the final corner we crawl here at 37 miles an hour. But Bennett, when's he gonna pull the trigger? Now then, here we go. So Bennett goes, but Southerner's had a fantastic restart. And is he going to go side by side with Crispy into turn 1? Is Southerner going to look to make the move? He's having a look. Southerner down the inside of Crispy, but not able to get close enough under braking. And now Darnell is going to want to try and get past his brother as quickly as possible. He's probably going to be screaming in his head here that Southerner to get out of the way, which he does. So Southerner pulls out of the way, and Darnell down the inside of Crispy. They're side by side through the chicane as Crispy holds on for now. Is Darnell going to have a look down the inside as Bennett covers off Crispy? Darnell then is going to get the pair of them. Darnell's going to get through as Crispy is boxed in between Darnell and Bennett. Crispy with fantastic straight on speed. Darnell's having to move across to let Crispy back out, and Southerner's getting involved now, is he? Darnell then, is he going to make it 3 wide into the chicane? He has a look. Crispy having to give room to Darnell, and he spins Bennett, and Bennett is round. So Bennett's gamble hasn't paid off. Roller's gone off the track and he's picked up a time penalty. And now Sem and Menz, if you look behind, are all trying to get in on the action. Is Darnell going to be close enough to get Crispy? Not on this occasion, as we got Menz and Sem and Roller all go for it. As Menz down the inside turns to the outside over the second part of the chicane on Roller, and now Sem is down the inside of Menz. So it's all kicking off here. Big action, big battles going on, and Darnell now a quarter of a second behind Crispy as we go into the final sector.
I think Darnell now really needs that fastest lap. If that clip gets sent in and it goes against Crispy, then a kind of 10-15 second penalty right now would send him right down to the back. So yeah, if the field can stay bunched together, all Darnell might need is the fastest lap here. But yeah, there's still a hell of a long way to go in this race. A lot can happen still, but yeah, what a hectic restart that was.
You'd say this was the perfect opportunity though for Darnell to get that fastest lap. If he can get the DRS, oh well, no, correction, DRS will not be active this lap of course, but if he can get a bit of a toe on Crispy and get past him, then obviously he'll have a very strong chance at having that fastest lap and keeping it, because obviously he'll get the advantage of a slipstream and a very hefty toe down the back straight here. We got Bennett then into the pits. He's making his mandatory pit stop. Darnell then 6 tenths back as we go onto the back straight. He needs DRS, but he's not going to get it this time round on Crispy, and I don't think he's going to be close enough to go for a move here. Possibly not even into the second chicane either at the end of the other back straight. as just not close enough on this occasion. Roller though, having a look at Southerner. Roller fancies another podium here in the final race of his F2 career for the time being. Darnell not going to be close enough then to get Crispy on this occasion, and that is going to mean that he's got to stick within a second to get DRS for the next lap, lap 13 that will be. Roller then just a quarter of a second behind Southerner. He looks fast here, does Roller, and I wouldn't be entirely surprised if he might fancy another race victory here if Darnell and Crispy come to blows. We got yellow flags. That is for Shut Medal, who's spun round there in the final sector. So that's Shut Medal's chance of points all but gone as well. Roller, of course, does have a time penalty, so that's another kind of incentive for him to want to get past Southerner, who's outside of the DRS range. Crispy with the fastest lap of the race here with a 48.9. If Darnell wants that fastest lap, this is probably his best chance if he can get past Crispy with the help of some DRS. Bennett is off again by the looks of things in the final set. Some yellow flags coming out there. We got Mason Gammon as well into the pit lane. Roller's going to have DRS on summoning. You think the Prema driver should get past pretty easily, but I'm going to have to turn the attention away from this battle and onto Darnell and Crispy. But Darnell is nearly a second back as we go onto this back straight. It's going to prove a bit of a difficult task here for Darnell. I'll look behind, but in the haze you really can't see much of what is going on between Roller and Southerner. So we'll go to this battle quickly and then we'll switch back to Darnell. Roller then down the inside of Southerner. Southerner breaks a bit later though. Squeezes Roller a bit to the inside. Roller's going to set him up perfectly here for the switchback. He's going to have DRS, which he activates now. That is a bit of a bug going on with that yellow flag. It's set to 3, so apologies. I don't think Bennett did go off earlier. Roller then to the outside. Is he going to get the move done? Yes, he does. Before the braking zone, gets that move done. So Roller up into third. Darnell was not close enough on this occasion to go with Crispy, who looks at the moment, James, to have the pace to keep Darnell behind.
Yeah, he certainly does. Darnell making quite a few mistakes just before the DRS activation, and I think that was really what cost him a potential look at Crispy this lap. He looks like he's pushing so hard, maybe a bit too hard here. But having said that, he's actually turned it into a really nice drive through the final sector. Big mistake from Crispy there, and I think if Darnell can keep close through sector 1, we could see a move for the lead here, Harry, at the start of lap 14.
Yeah, we've got a great battle as well going on for P5 between Sem, Beast and Menz. Dodgy as well, only a 10th behind Baggy, with Marsh a further 3 tenths back in the battle for 10th, the final points paying position. So there's a lot of other interesting battles going on. I apologise that we're probably not going to see them, but we are going to see Darnell lose the car, and he's gone into the wall. And that is that as far as the championship's concerned, and it's ended with Darnell in the wall. And that really does just rather sum up the HWA Race Lab Drivers Weekend. It's just never really kicked off, and it's just ended in disaster here. Crispy is your F2 World Champion for Season 5. But what a way for it to go for Darnell. Just nothing seemed to go right for him this weekend. He qualified down in 8th after making a mistake. He got a drive-through in the sprint race, another mistake, and then he's crashed in the feature race, a third and final killer blow in terms of his championship charge. Sem and Beast battling it out for 5th. Sem's lost a lot of time to Menz, a whole 2 seconds in fact, as Beast now looking round the outside then, as these guys battle for 5th. There's nothing to play for now in terms of the championship for these guys. The Constructors is done as well. Beast and Sem, big contact between the pair of them, both of them off, cutting the corner onto the grass here. Sem though gets the move done and is up into P5. Marsh now into 9th. He holds 2 valuable points as far as he's concerned. Dodgy is now been promoted to 10th, with Baggy just 3 tenths behind him on those super soft compound of tyres. But what a way for it to end.
Yeah, unbelievable really, for the championship to be wrapped up like that. It looked like Darnell was going to have a real run at Crispy there, and all just coming away from a huge snap. Oh, that tricky right-hander that always catches so many people
just got
out.
on the curb a bit, didn't
he did. This race is far from over though. despite the championship now being wrapped up. We've got Beast right over the back of Sem. That'll be a move for P4.
Yeah, we're on board with the MP driver now. James is having a little cheeky little look, just letting Sem know he's there, down into the chicane there.
Sorry, it's not a move for P4.
He's going to set him up though.
P5, but for some reason Southern is now down 14.
Oh, I think he's lagging a bit. Yeah, Beast then going to have the DRS. He's got a very nice exit out of the hairpin as well. And this is going to be a pretty easy move. Bob's your uncle here for Beast as he goes then past Sem and up into P5. But I think Sem's going to come back at him down this back straight here. The driver is going to get a nice exit, is he? A good little switchback. And yeah, he's got a very nice exit there as Sem. Just losing the car a little bit as he moved up from second to third gear. But nothing really to unsettle his pace down this back straight then. Excuse me, to the outside the Trident goes. Beast going to hold firm on the inside. These two came to blows the lap before and they're going to do it again by those things as Beast having to cut the corner to avoid contact with Sem for the umpteenth time in this race, and he gets a time penalty for his troubles. So that's kind of Sem's task of getting past Beast. It's really been done for him there with the MP driver picking up a time penalty. Roller of course as well with a time penalty, so that would at the moment promote Southerner to second and Men's up to third. So that'd be an excellent result for Men's, who just missed out on a podium in the sprint race, but I'm sure he'd love a feature race podium just that little bit more with the Carlin driver. And as I say that, of course, he goes round. So there you go. The curse of the commentator is still very much alive in the F2 division as now Sem gets all out of shape as well. So it looks like Beast might be able to just about hang on for fourth as we move on to the final lap here. Southerner looks to have P2 wrapped up as long as he doesn't make a mistake, and Roller should have P3 because Beast is a long way behind Men speeding in the pit lane. I imagine he's probably going to retire as well, although he's not done just yet. That's promoted then Baggy up into P9, so Baggy fan then having a fantastic... Oh, sorry, P10 as Southerner's glitching out again, but Baggy's going to get himself another point then for his trouble, so that's a nice little result in the final race of the season for him. But yeah, it's kind of all calmed down and all spread out a bit here, James. Not really too much action going on as it looks like. Well, we'll go on board with Crispy then for this final sector of the season, and what a season it's been for Crispy. He's been so dominant at times and he's had to work so hard on other occasions, but when it's come down to it at the end, he has proven to just be that little bit more consistent than anyone else. The pace has been there as well to back it up, and he's going to come through these final few corners to take yet another victory here. I mean, the silverware's just been racking up for him this season. He's had countless pole positions as well, not least including the one that he scored this evening. And round the penultimate corner he comes, just one more corner to go. He's already won the championship, but he's going to cap it off with another feature race victory and a 50-point lead in the championship. Crispy 2001 is your champion for Season 5. He's joined on the podium for one final time by Race Roller in P3. Southerner takes another P2, so it's been an excellent weekend for the ART driver. Sem comes home in 4th with Beast 5th. Owen gets P6, a brilliant result for Owen to cap off the season there. Double points for Kramer. Merckx is 7th in the Charoos. It's Marsh in 8th, Dodgy 9th. Baggy's going to take the final points paying position in 10th. Mason, Schutt Medal, Bennett and Men's round out your finishers, or they will do when they all cross the line. Darnell, Josh, Allen, Russell and Ads all crashing out or retiring in the pits. But massive congratulations to Crispy, who wins the championship and also wins the Constructors along with his teammate division. It's a double championship winning season for Crispy. Well done to him. Commiserations to Darnell, who put a brilliant challenge throughout, but just wasn't quite able to close that gap down to really make it a realistic chance, give himself a realistic chance going into Abu Dhabi. He had a lot of work to do. He was clearly pushing extremely hard, and unfortunately that's sometimes, you know, that's what happens even to the best drivers when they're just pushing a little bit too hard, trying to make up some time, and he ended up in the barriers there. But it was still an excellent season nonetheless for Darnell, who's I believe been runner-up now in the last 2 seasons. I know what it's like to come second in a championship, especially to a driver of Crispy's caliber. Um, you've just got to pick yourself up and go again, and I'm sure Darnell will be a major player in next season's championship. But there you go then. We've got Crispy. He has won the final feature race of the season with Southerner in second, Roller in third. If we could get Crispy, Roller and Southerner in the party, please, as they were the top 3 from this weekend. That would be grand, James.
Right, so yeah, but unlucky, don't know. You did well throughout the whole thing.
Is anyone there?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, is Crispy in? Wait, oh yeah, he is, right. Yeah. Right then. I guess how we doing this, James? How do you want to go about doing this?
I guess we can just do the usual. Crispy's got the most points. We'll leave the champion till last.
All right. And do you want to do Roller and Summoner and I'll do Crispy, or
Yeah, if you like.
Yeah. All right. Let's go with that then. Right. So I'll hand it over to James then. He'll conduct the podium interviews for the 3rd and 2nd place drivers this weekend, which was Summoner and Roller, who I believe finished on the same amount of points.
Yeah. I think it had Roller in third, so we'll start with him then. Obviously, victory in the sprint race. I have to say it was kind of handed to you a little bit by that unfortunate mistake from Darnell getting the drive-through penalty. But either way, you had fantastic pace there, holding off the ARTs of Bennett and Southerner to take home the win. And then, yeah, it looked like a bit of a quieter feature race really for you. Obviously, that penalty, unfortunately, I think dropped you down a position in the end. But still, overall, 2 podiums and another race victory to take you 2nd overall in F2 for race victory. So yeah, I'm sure you're pretty pleased with your weekend there.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. First of all, congratulations to Crispy. He made up for getting beaten by myself last season. He did very well throughout the whole season. It was just unreal from start to finish. He did very well, so yeah, well done to him. And then me, yeah, going into this weekend, my aim was to get a win, so I'd go above yourself, Jam, in the all-time wins list. But And then, yeah, it did get handed to me a wee bit, definitely, but you've got to take it when you can. And then feature race was pretty quiet, as you say. I'm a bit annoyed about the penalty, but it didn't really change much. So yeah, I mean, pretty quiet sort of couple of races. Last race weekend for me, in F2 for a while. We're taking next season off and potentially more due to uni and other things, but it's nice to go out with a win, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah, well said, and congratulations for the record, and congratulations for yet another F2 victory.
Cheers.
We'll move on to your second place man for the weekend, then Southerner, and coincidentally second place man in both of the races. 2 out of 2 podiums in Abu Dhabi. I'm sure you're pretty pleased with that, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, buzzing. That was best way to end the season. Considering how it ended last season, I've never got double podiums in a round. So yeah, could say I got a bit fortunate, but it's just got to be the right places at the right time. Also, actually, massive congratulations, Crispy, on season 5 SLR F2 champion. Since you've joined from day one, you've just been absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, you're just a level above everyone else this season. So massive congrats. But yeah, just yeah, I'm just relieved that I got to end this season on a high. Again, this is my first time getting interviewed for getting top 3 this season, so yeah, I'm very happy, and I would say it brings me great confidence going into next season, but for all I know, the game might completely not suit me, or it might go in my favour, so hopefully next season I can mount a challenge and become the 6th different Formula 2 champion in 6 seasons, but the standard is quite ridiculously high, so it's going to be quite a tall order, but yeah, all good my end.
Yeah, congratulations, mate. Just quickly, as the kind of as the head admin for F2, obviously you kind of touched on it briefly there. Have you got anything to kind of say about the season as a whole, and then potentially for next season as well? Obviously on the new game.
Just this season's been brilliant. Every single season, it's just getting better and better. We had a record amount of sign-ups. We've had record full grids. Just a tad annoying today. We had 31 at one point. Tick to say yes, and then didn't quite work out that way. But yeah, just F2's getting stronger and stronger. It's pretty much almost exactly where I wanted it to be from when I first became an admin, to try and make it the most valuable seat in Summit League racing. We've got such a high demand now. It's going to be interesting to hit the grids next season with a new game. Yeah, I just cannot wait for next season already. Yeah, the only way is up, as it always has been for SLR Formula 2, and it's not just me that's doing a great job. It's not just me, it's not just the admins, it's also the drivers as well, because they're putting on the great show, they're showing their respects. So it isn't just a 3-man job to why F2 is progressing, it's a 20, 30, 40 people job. So thank you, everyone.
Very well said, and humble as ever there. I think I speak for everyone when we really do appreciate the work that you and the other guys on the admin team put in for F2, and it's always a fantastic show week in, week out. So yeah, thank you once again for your efforts in that regard.
Cheers, buddy.
If you want to take us over to your SLR F2 division season 5 champion, then Harry.
Yeah, with pleasure. I mean, first and foremost, SLR F2 champion. How does that sound, Chrissy? Yeah, I mean, the weekend started off perfectly, of course, with yourself qualifying on pole. I'm not sure if you knew at the time, but Darnell made a little bit of a mistake on his lap, which at first we thought might have seen him out of out of the qualifying altogether, but he recovered well to take P8. But then, of course, starting the sprint race and starting it almost, or ending it, sorry, almost as quickly as he started it in the wall. I mean, at that point, were you feeling a bit worried in terms of, obviously, Darnell was in a very strong position in the lead of the race. The championship lead looked like it might have been coming down to just 12 points at that point. Yeah.
I don't think the stream
Yeah,
can hear
no,
Crispy. Sorry.
Oh. Alright. That's a bit of a shame. Maybe try. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, I'll ask you this anyway, in just for the sake of it. But of course, ending the season as well on a perfect note with taking victory in the feature race. Perfect start as well. You know, kept yourself out of trouble, got yourself a nice little gap to those ahead, and then of course it gives you the perfect platform to sort of pick up from where you're going to have left this season for the start of season 6.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to obviously, we'll have to see what the new game is like, what the F2 cars are like on there. But I'm looking forward to next season already. I wasn't 100% about coming back full time or not, but yeah, I will be coming back full time. And yeah, I'll be honest, I've only got one aim really, and that's to retain the title and win it again. So
yeah, that would make yourself, of course, the first driver to win multiple F2 championships, as Southerner mentioned earlier. Every season has had a different champion so far. So then, that does us for this season of F2. Just again, I'd like to reiterate my congratulations to Crispy and also to the Dams team as a whole for their respective championships. As well, just to all the drivers for showing up every week. We've had some fantastic races throughout this season. And obviously without the drivers there wouldn't be that, but looking forward to next season then, we may see the return of some old faces, nudge nudge wink wink if you're listening, F2 admins, but also of course we'll see the usual suspects back in the division, and hopefully for their sake at least back at the front again. But I think as Southerner mentioned, F2 does just seem to be getting stronger and stronger, and we definitely look forward to seeing you all again for season 6. So I'll thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Thank you to everyone as well who tuned in throughout the season, and that is it for F2 season 5. Good night.